Victor Gao is the Vice President of the Center for China and Globalization, the Chairman-elect of the National Organization of the International Gas Union, the Chairman of China Energy Security Institute, the Vice Chairman of China Beidou Industrial Promotion Organization, a member of the Global Council of Asia Society in New York City, and an advisor to Saudi Aramco, and a member of the board of directors of numerous listed companies in Hong Kong. Victor, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It is my great pleasure to attend today's very important seminar. I'm based in Beijing, and congratulations to Redica on the publication of this very important book at, as I agree, this very important point in history. Allow me to share with you some of the impressions or observations, especially as prompted by the excellent remarks by Professor Wade just now. First of all, comparing China and the United States, I would say if we use the nominal exchange rate, China will surpass that of the United States around 2030. Whether 2032, 2035, etc., it's not certain. And you have different projections by different banks or institutions. But I would say in another 10 years or so, and most likely less than 10 years, if we use official exchange rate, China will be larger than the United States. And if you believe in Elon Musk, by the middle of this century, China's GDP by official exchange rate will be doubling the size of the United States. China is already about 130% of the United States if we use purchasing power parity, but the Chinese government refuses to use PPP as the basis for measuring the sizes of the economies of the United States and China. Now, the other point, in addition to what Professor Wei just now mentioned, China's manufacturing output is larger than the combined manufacturing output of the United States, Germany, and Japan. This is very significant because if we still look at the hardcore manufacturing productions, for example, this is truly what matters, especially when you think about a war, the possibility of a war breaking out, for example, even though there is increasing emphasis leaning towards cyber war or drones, etc. But if you look at the traditional hardcore part of the war, manufacturing, production of iron and steel, you name it, China is really leading the world. In many productions, China's production is not only larger than that of the United States, is more than half the size of the global production. Now, another very quick point about the digital economy we are coming in. I think Washington actually had a point in zooming in on this chips war against China. I think what they originally expected, that if they can zoom in on the chips and throw a wedge into the Chinese access to the sophisticated, advanced chips, mostly designed and produced by the United States or Japan, South Korea, and China's Taiwan province, this will slow down China's economic development. Now you know what happened to this Mate 60 Pro unleashed by Huawei. It seems that Huawei refuses to be pushed down, and now you can try that by yourself. I think this Mate 60 Pro, as Huawei now openly declares to the whole world, definitely is much more advanced than the Apple equivalent. And what impressed me are 2 points, and I think each of these 2 points are very significant. One is that Huawei seems to be completely achieving self-reliance in the production of sophisticated chips. They didn't mention the measurement, for example, whether it's 7 mm or even 5 mm. Now, as revealed today and yesterday, most likely Huawei has made a profound breakthrough in 5 MN. So that means Huawei has broken out of the protection walls erected by the United States and has achieved not only the technological breakthrough, but also the massive amount of production they can line up, because they're talking about lining up about 20 million handsets between now and the end of next year, etc. And then the second thing, and if the United States cannot strangle China, including Huawei, in terms of the advanced semiconductor chips, I don't think there is anything else that the United States can think of that they can strangle China. Now, the other thing is that this Mate 60 Pro has the ability to communicate directly between your phone and a satellite 30,000 kilometers above ground. This is truly remarkable. And it is so small, it's embedded in your phone, and it can communicate, smoothly, not only in terms of disasters, earthquakes, etc., but also if you try on any normal day, you can communicate to a satellite way above your head. It's not the low orbit satellites that Elon Musk and SpaceX is famous for example, but it is a very high altitude satellite, about 30,000 kilometers. Now, what is the military significance of this kind of technology? I think Pentagon really need to be thinking about if Huawei can use this miniaturized communication devices in their civilian use smartphone, they probably need to conclude that the Chinese military at least would have the similar version, if not much better version than this one. And this one is not, according to at least the public knowledge, is not accessible to any other military in the world. So that means, China is really breaking new grounds, not only in terms of the total amount of the manufacturing production, but also moving very to the forefront of these very sophisticated productions, R&D, breakthroughs, etc. And further, if Huawei and the rest of China are really moving into very sophisticated production of semiconductor chips, allow me to emphasize another point. And I've been making this point for ever since the United States started to manhandle Huawei about 3 or 4 years ago. That is, China one day will no longer need to import any chips from the United States or Japan or ROK or China's Taiwan province. And by achieving complete self-reliance in chips and being able to do whatever that these chips will allow you to do, and if you think about the new age of digital age, metaverse, etc., you cannot live without chips. Chips will become a factor like air or water, for example, or land in our previous revolutions. So when Professor Wade said that in terms of the profit share, etc., I agree, but I think China is catching up. And China was very happy with this global division of work. China imported more chips than they spent on importing crude oil. Can you believe it? The price tag on chips imported is the biggest price tag for all the Chinese imports over the past decade or so. Now there is a revolution, and China will eventually be self-sufficient in chips, and also China will be swamping the market in the world with very low-priced, high-quality chips. And this will happen within the coming 5 to 10 years. So we will all live to see this megatrend being unfolding in front of our eyes. Now, another thing, allow me to mention very briefly, that is the way it's the definite leading position of China in terms of the EV production, electric vehicle production. You can see that very clearly in the Munich Auto Show just recently. Is still going on, I suppose. And I think not only in terms of the design, production, of the EV cars, but also China has accumulated a dominant position in terms of the battery technology and many of the metals and the raw materials indispensable to the production of the EV cars. And as everyone knows, China has really accumulated a very, very absolute dominance in rare metal, rare earth, as well as the proprietary technologies in processing these metals for civilian use as well as for military use. That means China is really moving much more ahead. And this will be the new revolution we are thinking about. You know, Radhika was talking about capitalism and coronavirus and war, for example. I think China is really very eager to push forward, regardless of whatever maximum pressure that the United States wants to lump onto China. And as I mentioned, if China is becoming the global leader of the EV cars and all the related technologies and materials, batteries, you are thinking about that. And also China is really getting rid of the suppression of the United States in terms of the semiconductor chips and pushing ahead, then it positions China very well in entering the next stage of economic revolution. That is the digital revolution. I think the digital revolution is already with us, but it will intensify and accelerate in the coming decades. And I think eventually this will be the part of the industrial and digital production that will add a lot of revenue and profit to the Chinese economy as a whole. Now, the other thing is that China does not see any fun in a headlong competition with the United States. China wants to develop its own proprietary technologies, mostly because of the maximum pressure the United States is lumping on China. China feels that they have no other choice but to achieve self-reliance and independence in this regard. So it's not what China originally wanted, but the end result is very clear. China is achieving self-reliance in chips. China is building up this leading position, absolute leading position in EV cars. China is really dazzling the world with its dominance in rare earth and rare metals. And allow me to mention another thing. You may know that a few months ago, China announced the export review for two what they call scattered metals, GA and GE. Now, I understand in China's sleeves, there are about 24 similar measures they can use. They may decide not to use, but the restrictions of the review on GA and GE is just the first salvo of this trade war if the United States wants to manhandle China again and again, because they can put export review on GA and GE, and they have about another 24 or so cards they can play with Washington if they really want to continue this manhandling. Now, I will stop here. I just want to say that we are truly living in a revolutionary age, and what Radhika is telling us through her book is really very illustrative of many of the situations on the ground. And I would say that the unipolar world that the United States wants to build is not possible. It is crumbling before it is really established. The world we are living in is multipolar world, and a few countries in the world want to willingly live in subjugation to any other country. All the countries want to be free, want to be treated equal. They want to have their own voices heard on the global stage. And I think that's the mega trend. And I hope, China's rise and China's refusal to be beaten up is a very positive step in this regard. And eventually, my vision is that Washington and Beijing will need to live and let live. They need to get along with each other in peace, rather than Washington trying to get to China's jugular as if there will be no consequences. There will be consequences. As I mentioned before I wrap up, the consequence is that the maximum pressure by the United States on China in trying to deny China's access to the advanced semiconductor chips is spelling the doom for the semiconductor businesses of the United States. Thank you.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.